Should you grow your own technicians or keep waiting on a technician that probably doesn't even exist yet? Maybe you've thought about putting an apprentice on. Maybe you've got as far as working out what it would actually cost. Now, in the first year, they can't run a service on their own. Someone has to stand next to them while they do it. Maybe that person is you. But if your best tech stops billing and starts teaching, well, we can always look at that as an investment in their future. Or maybe you've already got an apprentice. Maybe they're a third year, but they still can't be trusted to do a job on their own. And you're quietly wondering if you're actually getting what you're paying for. And the last apprentice you put on, that's the last one you put all the way through. Well, they walked out of your shop on the same week that their ticket arrived. That's 4 years of your money gone down the road, maybe to the shop that never trained anybody at all. So you did the sensible thing. You decided you'd wait for a qualified technician instead, someone with a bit more loyalty. And maybe you've been waiting ever since. Might have been 9 weeks, maybe it's been 6 months. For some of you, it's probably been more than a year. Now, the maths you did was right. You just did it on the wrong person. And it's not what you think. Now, in a minute, I'm going to show you where the money for that apprentice is already sitting inside your shop and why you're just spending it somewhere else. But before we get into it, we've got a free resource called Inducting for Excellence. It's the first 90 days, what a new hire sees, hears, and feels when they walk into your auto repair shop, and whether that helps them make the decision to stay. The link is in the description box below. You can go ahead and grab it at the end of today's episode. Now, let's just leave your workshop for a moment and let's go to a restaurant instead. A proper fine dining restaurant. You know, the one, white tablecloths, fancy uniforms, place you walk in and you can just smell that this is just a little bit different. It's the kind of place that's probably going to be booked out 6 weeks in advance, right? If you walked into that kitchen, you will see there's a pecking order. There's a head chef. Underneath them, there's a sous chef. Under them, there's chefs running one station each. One chef on sauces, one chef on the grill, one on the desserts. At the bottom, there's a commerce chef. They're peeling, they're chopping, they're portioning sizes. And underneath them is a dishwasher. Now, you and I both know the head chef could wash the dishes. They'd probably be super quick at it. It'd probably be done to an incredibly high standard. But there is no restaurant on earth who puts their head chef on the sink washing dishes. And it's not because washing dishes doesn't matter. I mean, the place stops without it, right? But because the most expensive pair of hands in the building and the dishes are the cheapest work in it. Restaurants worked that out more than 100 years ago. And you already know this, right? You'd never put your best technician at the front counter answering the phone all day. Or if you are, you shouldn't be. And you'd never ask your service advisor to talk a cylinder head, right? Even though they might be able to. So you already sort your work out by who should be doing it. And this happens everywhere except the workshop floor. So let's come back to your shop right now, here and now, today. Take one qualified technician and consider one day. It doesn't matter if they're working there 8 hours or 10 hours. Whatever the amount of hours is that they're rostered, those are their available hours. And that's the number that everything gets measured against. Now, walk through exactly what's actually in their day. There's an oil and filter service. There's a tire rotation. There's pads and rotors on a Corolla. There's a road test that needs to be done. There's a run to the wholesaler because the part that they ordered came through wrong. and they're sweeping their own bay at 4:30 in the afternoon. And then, of course, somewhere in the middle of all of that, the one job that genuinely needed them, the intermittent electrical fault, the drivability complaint that nobody else in town will touch. Now, let's look at it this way. We always talk about this as the wrong hands, right? There's two numbers that move when you put the right jobs in the right hands. Productivity, right, which is billable hours divided by available hours. Well, the benchmark is 85%, and labor gross profit, which should be sitting between 70 and 74%. And the biggest cost of the lot doesn't show up on either of them, right? Because when you qualified a technician spends 3 of their hours on work an apprentice could do, well, you don't just lose the margin on those 3 hours, you lose the job they never got to. And that diagnostic goes onto next week's book. So let's look at the wrong hands, right? This is for a qualified tech. Let's call him Tony, your qualified tech, right? Well, what should he be spending the bulk of his time on? What are the jobs that you should be handing Tony, your qualified tech, to do? Well, they're things like we just mentioned, right? The intermittent electrical fault or the drivability complaint that takes an amount of knowledge, skill, experience, and wisdom to diagnose and then decide what needs fixing, right? But what else has he got? Well, there's servicing in there, maybe the servicing is, we're looking at oil and filter changes. It's that tire rotation, it's the pads and the rotors that we were discussing, right? And then there's the running around, chasing parts that didn't turn up or the wrong parts arrived. There's returning, there's the road test, right? Or returning calls, for heaven's sake. And then at the bottom, the things you really don't want to be paying Tony, your qualified tech, to do, which is sweeping the bays and tidying up his part of the workshop, right? If Tony's time gets sucked up on these 3 things, then the one job that really needed his hands, his brain, his skill set, well, that just gets pushed into next week. So you have a disappointed customer, or the customer gets so annoyed, they just go down to the shop down the road. And I see this playing out almost on a weekly basis. In a 6-figure shop, there'll be 2 qualified technicians who are doing everything, right? And in most cases, the owner is there in a bay as the 3rd qualified tech. But in a 7-figure shop, a shop where the owner has more money and more time, every job is sitting with the cheapest hands that can do it properly. And in most cases, the owner isn't even holding a spanner at all. This can be the same trade, it can be the same town, they can be working on the same cars, but the difference isn't the skill set, it's who's being asked to hold what jobs. Because you haven't got a shortage of hours, you've got your most expensive hours, those that should be spent diagnosing, so busy with the cheapest work. We need that to change. So now you've got where the money is, right? Stay with me, because next I'm going to show you why the apprentice you put on last time didn't stick and what the shops who keep their apprentices do differently than what you're maybe doing. But if you're going to grow your own talented technicians, then the first 90 days decide whether you keep them or not. And that's what Inducting for Excellence is for. It walks you through what a new team member should be seeing, should be hearing, and should be doing from day one. So the person you've invested 4 years in has a reason to still be there at the end. That free resource is in the description box below. Click the link, go grab it, and then come back to the rest of the training. Now, let me go back to that kitchen for a second, because there's a second thing about it, and it's the most important one. Every single person in that pecking order, in that kitchen, in that restaurant, started at the bottom. The head chef peeled potatoes, the sous chef peeled potatoes. The best chefs in the world all started with a peeler and a chopping board. That was it. And no restaurant has ever hired a sous chef off the street who already knew their menu. They simply cannot do that because that person does not exist. So, what do those restaurants do? Well, they do the same thing that we're encouraging you to do, which is to build them. And that is a ladder, and a ladder has rungs, and this is the ladder you probably never built, right? Let's talk about the 5 rungs in an auto repair shop, right? Rung number 1 is this one down here when I can get this thing to move, right? It's your first and second year apprentices. They're at the bottom. They're green. They need some guidance, right? They need to know what good looks like. And they need you to help them to get started, to know what, to know where to go, to make sure things turn out well. The second rung, right? Well, that's your third and fourth year apprentices. They're a little bit more, they got a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more skill. They can't be left alone on too many things, but they take less of your time than the first and second year apprentices. Next rung is your qualified technician. Maybe in the first 1 to 4 years, 1 to 5 years after their apprenticeship, right? That's your qualified technician. You got a fairly good degree of trust in their ability to do things. If they're still hanging around, they're a good fit culturally, right? They might be coming to you for certain things while they continue to pad out their knowledge, but you're not standing next to them side by side next to them every single minute of every single day. Next rung, we've got your senior technician. They've been around the block or been to a few shops, or they've been with you a long time, and you've built up such a high level of understanding and appreciation for what they do. You know you could walk out of the shop and they're going to take care of business for you while you're away. The next rung is your leading hand. This is the person who should be running the show, running the shop for the 4 rungs below. And I added the other rung on the top. That's you. You should be off the floor, out of the bays, no tools in the hand, working on your business, above it all, living your life, right? That's the ladder. They're the 5 rungs. But let's look at these arrows on either side, right? The job here, the goal here, on this left side, right? And you'll notice the arrows run in opposite direction, right? So work should flow down from each rung on that ladder. But so every rung hands the work that's below its level to the rung underneath it. But on the other side here, the people, your team, well, they climb up rung by rung by rung, the same as the team in the restaurant. And that's the whole model. Work flows down, people climb up. But here's what most shops do instead. They don't build a ladder, they build one rung. And what do they do in here? Well, they throw everyone in here. They have the senior tech. Heck, they might even have the leading hand in here, right? The senior tech, they've got the third and fourth and the first and second year apprentices in there. They jam them all in, right? So you put an apprentice on as a cheap pair of hands, but nothing specific is assigned to that rung. So they do whatever's left over. They sweep, they fetch, they hold the torch. And the only way they learn is by standing near someone, in the proximity of someone maybe more qualified than them, right? And then at the end of their apprenticeship, when the ticket arrives, the qualification comes through, and there's nothing above them, they work out that the only way to get ahead is to get out of your workshop and go straight through the door. And that's not a lack of loyalty. That's a lack of clarity. And it's simply and purely mathematical diagnosis. There's nowhere for me to go here. I'm going out to explore where the grass is greener. And this answers two things that I hear every time I raise this. The first one is, oh yeah, but I've done it, and they just leave. Well, they left because you built a rung, not a ladder. And even when an apprentice does leave, if they took 2 years of basic work off your qualified technician on the way through, well, that was actually a return on your investment, not a loss. It's only a loss if you built nothing above them for them to climb into, because we win or we learn, we never win or lose. Now, the second thing I hear is, I don't want to put someone on just because they're cheap. Well, that's good, because neither do I, and neither do we here at the Workshop Whisperer. But cheap labour is exactly what you get when the rung you assign them to has no work assigned to it and nothing above it, right? A ladder is the opposite of cheap labor. You're not buying a pair of hands, you're building a technician. You are moving people up. And if you watch the last episode, episode 28, well, this is the other half of that episode, because last time I said there's no shortage of good technicians. There's a shortage of good technicians who know you exist. The 3 depths of water, right? The depth of the talent pool, and a job ad only ever fishes at the surface. But I also said that an apprentice does not replace a qualified technician who walks out on you. And that's still true. It doesn't. And this isn't the same lever. An ad is how you go and find one. A ladder is how you stop needing to. It's the only supply that you control, because you're not competing for that technician who's out looking around for work, who's probably been moved on for 2, 3, or 4, or been moved on from 2 or 3 other workshops. And that's the shallow talent pool that your ad is fishing in. By bringing in someone yourself and moving them up, you're building exactly the kind of technician you wished existed and responded to your ad. Now, the shops that do this, well, you can spot them a mile off. Same 3 technicians for 6 years. All 3 started there as apprentices. The owner hasn't run a job ad, in 5 years or more. And their team didn't leave because they qualified. They left because there was nothing above them to qualify into. That's the difference we see all the time. Now, 2 things before you go and do this, because I'd rather you hear them from me. The first one, this only works if you have work waiting, right? Freeing up your qualified technician's hours is only worth something to you if there's diagnostic and repair work to move them into, right? So we don't bring someone in to free up time that is going to go unbilled. You're going to have to pay the technician for the time they're there. They've got to generate revenue, income in the time that they're there. So if the bays aren't full and the phone isn't ringing, then you're actually going to free them up to do nothing. And then your apprentice really is just a cost, an expense. So if that's you, this isn't your episode right now. Just store it in the back of your mind for later when you do need it. But go back to the episode I did on your database and go and fill your shop first with the right kind of work. The second thing I want to say to you is the payback is never immediate, right? And anyone who tells you it is has actually never done this themselves anyway, right? In year 1, the apprentice you bring in, well, they're going to cost you time before they give you any back. Like there is a cost to supervision, and that cost is real. In our productivity assessments, we already allocate hours according to the skill set or year level of your apprentices, right? It's how we ensure that the productivity benchmark, which is 85%, can account for and does account for the skill mix and experience mix that you have inside your team. But the investment in your apprentices begins to turn around when they can run basic services on their own. And from there, they pay you back for as long as they stay with you. And longer than that, because the rung above them now exists, right? So you're not paying an apprentice to work, you're actually paying them to take work off someone who costs you more for the same result, the same type of work. So here's the 3 things for you to do this week. Number 1, take your best technician, and last Tuesday, right? Or take your best, well, rather take your best technician and think about last Tuesday, right? Write down every single job that they touched on that day and mark the ones that genuinely needed, right? Genuinely needed a qualified technician to do them, right? The ones on this run. If it's less than half the list that you've written down, then you've just found the money that you think you're missing to hire your apprentice. 2, draw your own 5 rungs, right? Draw your ladder. Then put a name on each one. Look at your team, right? Put a name on each one. If you've only got one rung, this is an issue, right? Or if there's no names in here or here, here or here, any rung with no name on it is a rung above that the work cannot come down to. Remember, work comes down, people grow up, people move up. We do grow up, or we hope we grow up. Third question, right? Your apprentice, or the apprentice that you're thinking about, what's the rung above them called? And do they know it exists, right? If it's first, second, third, fourth, they know where they're going next. But when they're finished, are they becoming a qualified tech? What needs to happen to see them move into the senior tech? What happens if they become leading hand or workshop manager, right? Or foreman? What's the rung above them, and do they know that that exists? Because if you can't name it, they can't see it. And if they can't see a future inside your workshop, they'll leave as soon as they can, because they'll go looking for a future in someone else's workshop. That's how it works, right? Running an ad for an apprentice buys you whoever's available, but building this ladder inside your business, well, that builds you the team you need. Cheap labor is one rung on the ladder. A team that hangs around, a loyal team, right? Well, they see this ladder as their career. That's how you keep them. So stop waiting for a good technician. Start building a great one inside your business using these 2 models. Now, if this episode has you thinking differently about your auto repair business and you'd like to learn a little bit more about how we help auto repair shop owners stop waiting for this perfect technician and start building the perfect technician themselves, then just click the links in the description box below. There's no phone calls, there's no pressure to do anything. There's just some really clear information that's going to help you to decide if now might be the right time, and here, the Workshop Whisperer, whether we might be the right fit to help you with your auto repair shop. I'll see you on the next episode of the A Grade Auto Repair Shop Show.